Mississippi.
Well, looks as though they got who they needed, but let's find out from Rob Fredrickson, who joins us now on the Right to the Guest line here on ESPN 620. So, Rob, you as a former defensive player, you had to really like this draft, as it was heavy defense. Did you love it or what? Or it's
there's not a huge question mark in terms of what Monty Ossenford and Jonathan Gannon wanted to emphasize in this draft. Obviously, the defense was the name of the game, but I love the draft. I love the emphasis on, in particular, the front seven in terms of the defense.
You know, Rob, you look at Walter Nolen, who could play from the get-go, he and Calais Campbell, but you look at Nolen, Will Johnson, which was the shock he dropped into the lap of the Cardinals. But Jordan Burch and then Cody Simon, there's four of your top choices that can play quite a bit of playing time for this Cardinals defense.
Yeah, and they're going to get rotation. They're going to get in, especially on that defensive line. Jonathan Gannon and Nick Wallace, they love to rotate those guys, keep them fresh. So they're going to get rotated in early and often. And you're right, Johnson in the second round, and I did not see him falling to the Cardinals at that position that late in the draft. There must have been some major concerns amongst other teams about potentially the injury to his knee. However, he seemed relatively healthy the last couple of years. He said as much. He's said that he's been healthy for the last 2 years. So if he kind of can stay healthy, that could be the steal of the draft.
You know, Rob, you being a former linebacker, whether you're inside or outside, this Cody Simon kid out of Ohio State, I watched him all last year. This kid's all over the place. He's a sure tackler. He's a technique guy. I would be a little cautious to start him as inside linebacker as your Mike, but it seems like he's a kid that could pick that up pretty quickly. Maybe not from the get-go, but this is a great pick in the fourth round.
A great pick, great value pick. You're right. He can fly. He can move all over the field and makes a lot of tackles. The one knock on him, I think they said, was just his ability to shed blocks and to play the run. Well, with the additions to the front four, to the front defensive line that the Arizona Cardinals have made, you look at Calais Campbell and Dalvin Tomlinson and obviously Walter Nolen, adding him, Josh Sweat. Man, if this defensive line can't keep offensive linemen off of their off of the Cardinals linebackers, we're in trouble, because it's just amazing the depth that the defensive line for the Arizona Cardinals has now. And that should be really a great lift for the linebacking core.
I'm curious to get your thoughts, Rob, on where it's going to play out in the NFC West. I've penciled in the Rams as the top team. I think people have a tendency to forget that they were only a play away from beating the Eagles in Philadelphia in the playoffs. And I have them as the top team, but I believe that Arizona and the San Francisco 49ers can battle it out for the second spot. Are you in that same category, or do you see something else?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think the Rams are they're, especially defensively, they've done an amazing job the last couple of years in the draft, building up, restacking that defense. And then Matthew Stafford is elite, and he's still competitive. He's still able to make all the throws and do everything that they need to do offensively, even though they got some changes at the wide receiver position. I think the Rams are certainly going to be a difficult out. Now, you talk about Seattle and what the transition they've gone through at the quarterback position. They've made some great additions defensively. The last couple of years, their defense is solid. So Seattle's going to be competitive. They always give the Cardinals trouble. And then San Francisco, you're right. They still haven't figured out what they're doing with Brock Purdy. They talk about something's going to get done, but it hasn't been done yet. So that's kind of hanging over their heads. But I think eventually they'll get that handled and get that done. But I think the Cardinals, as I look at them and look at what they've done through the free agency and the draft, I think the Cardinals are in a very good position in the NFC West.
Rob, according to Arizona Sports and Pro Football Focus, the Cardinals' offensive line ranked 26 out of 32 last year. I think some of us would have liked to seen some more offensive linemen being maybe drafted, but do you feel that there are going to be some players that are going to get cut from teams that maybe they can pick up?
Yeah, I think they're constantly looking, and you're right. I'm with you. I was really focusing at that 16th pick on an offensive lineman. I thought that was the direction that the Cardinals would go, but I was happy with Walter Nolen. In particular, right guard, I think is the position within that offensive line that people tend to look at and see. You have Isaiah Adams there. He struggled last year. Obviously, he was a rookie, and so you hope there's a sophomore surge there, and he'll get better. He'll improve. But the offensive line, it's strange. When they're humming and when they're all in tune, this is one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL. And they did a reasonably good job at protecting Kyler Murray last year. So the offensive line,
3 minutes,
healthy. I think they have all the pieces that they need. I'd love to see them add another guard. That's a position where I think that they really need to address. But I think the Cardinals made a kind of a conscious decision to just run it back with what they had offensively last year. That to me puts a lot of pressure on Kyler Murray. It puts a lot of pressure on Marvin Harrison Jr. to improve on what he did last year as a rookie and really come out strong in his sophomore season.
Well, and to that point too, Rob, I'm being selfishly as the next quarterback, I'd like to have seen a home run hitter drafted somewhere in there, a guy that could take it over the top and stretch the field. And you mentioned you got McBride, you got Harrison, you got Kyler, you got James Conner in the backfield. But as a former defensive guy, when you're game planning against this Cardinals offense, if I don't have to worry about a threat over the top, then I just focus on closing down the running game. I think there's maybe one weapon that they're shy of that guy being over the top. And just curious to get your thoughts on defensing a team that doesn't have a home run hitter.
Yeah, you notice a trend the last couple of years of defenses really playing that too deep shell look, keeping everything in front of them, and just coming up and making hits and making plays. And that's frustrating as a fan. That's frustrating. As players, it's got to be frustrating. You don't, especially if you don't have that one true speed receiver that can really force those safeties to hang back and not come up and get involved in the run game. That's a huge asset, and that's something that the Cardinals have struggled to find. I don't know if Xavier Weaver fits into that mold, but they have to find somebody that can stretch the field, force those safeties to be honest and not creep up towards the line of scrimmage.
Rob, do you think that they will scour when guys are waived, when they start signing their draft picks?
1 minute.
And see if there's anybody there that could possibly solve that, or is that asking too much?
No, I think they're always looking, and I think they want to find the right piece, the right fit for this team, for the culture, for the offense. So I think they will continue to look. Now you mentioned that teams are going to have to let some players go. The Cardinals all of a sudden now defensively,
Yes.
You look at their defensive line, their edge rushers, they have a lot of capable players, a lot of depth now, but they can't keep them all. So there's going to have to be some decisions made from the Arizona Cardinals as well, and they may be letting some quality defensive players
Clear to rep.
Rob, we always appreciate you making some time for us. But one of these days, you're going to just come right in our studio, right? So if we can make that work one day, that'll be great. But I know you're out there whining and dining and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
we'll see if we can get you in the
He's
studio.
kind of a big deal, Rock.
First round pick, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it.
You guys are so busy. Just maybe once in a while, send me a calendar invite. Invite me into the studio. I'll be there.
Good stuff. Thank you, Rob. That's Rob Fredrickson joining us. Follow him on X at rfredrickson59, the former Raider, Lion, and Cards linebacker here on the Right to a Guest sign on ESPN 620. All right, we need a contestant to challenge one of the beautiful girls here at the Camelback Twin Peaks. We'll take the fifth caller at 602-230-0620. That's 602-230-0620. Listen to Rock and Manuch. Jimmy B. Now on ESPN 620 on FM at 98.7.